I accidentally fell for someone else after catching my husband cheating. Lisa Matthews, very attractive in her early 30s, was pushing her cart around the supermarket parking lot. The cart was old and rattling, especially the left front wheel. We've all had a cart like that. The wheel constantly wobbles from side to side, creating one hell of a rattle and attracting awkward attention. The supermarket was crowded and it was the only cart in the pound, or she wouldn't have used it. Halfway across the parking lot, the damaged wheel came off, and before Lisa could react, the cart veered to the left, caught on the pavement, and tipped over, scattering her purchases all over the sides. This was not her day. She had already had an argument with her husband, Pete, over the phone and was still upset about it. Pete was coming to the end of a 2-month business trip to South Africa. Lisa had only learned this morning from what he had said during the conversation that his traveling companion and assistant on the trip was Sharon Wells. Lisa suspected that Pete was having an affair with Sharon, although so far she had been unable to find any concrete evidence of this. He ended the conversation in annoyance, saying goodbye. "Don't expect to hear from me until I return next week. I have better things to do." Her reply, "Oh yeah, like Sharon Wells, for example," didn't help. Pete was a hydraulic engineer. He led a small team in South Africa that brought clean water to rural villages for the first time. "He was a good engineer just like Sharon Wells," Pete told his wife, describing her work in enthusiastic tones. Lisa had never liked Sharon, but every time she met her and her husband, Sharon was on Pete's mind. Apparently, she clung to his every word, sucked up to him, and touched his hands and palms at every opportunity. Lisa was pretty sure Pete and Sharon had had an affair when they lived in the UK, and now she was working with him on his latest project in the South African bush. The supermarket cart accident was the last straw for Lisa. She burst into tears and knelt down with her shopping spread out in front of her. Then she heard a man's voice saying in her ear, "Let me give you a hand. I just got my cart back, but I'll help you load your shopping into it. It doesn't seem like a big deal except for the eggs, but you'll never make a proper omelet with them." Lisa looked up. Standing next to her was a very handsome young man, she guessed in his late 20s or early 30s. He helped her to her feet and began picking things up off the floor and loading them into his empty cart. She had already stopped crying and was picking things up and handing them to him to put in the cart. She didn't say a word to him. She felt so embarrassed about the fact that she had burst into tears. When they were almost done, he said, "If you finish putting things away, I'll take the broken cart to the warehouse." She thanked him, finished picking up her purchases, then rolled the cart to her car and began to stow her purchases in the trunk. The young man returned and said, "I'm going to have a coffee at the cafe on the corner. Can I buy it for you?" "Yes, please. I'd love to have coffee," she said with a smile. "But I'll buy it. It's the least I can do to repay you for your kindness." "It's a pleasure," he said. "It's not every day you get to help a girl in trouble, and a very pretty one at that." My goodness, she thought. Is he hitting on me? She blushed and thought, well, I hope so. "My name is David, by the way," he said, holding out his hand. She shook his hand and said, "Lisa." "I knew you had a pretty name, too," he said, holding her hand for a few seconds. They walked to the cafe and found a table in a quiet corner. The waitress took their order and they sat down to chat. "Do you live nearby?" he asked. "Yes, a little farther away on Clifton Road," she replied. "Oh, yes," he said. "In a posh part of town." "I don't know about that," Lisa replied. "But it's a nice neighborhood and a nice house. And where do you live?" "In an apartment, in the house next door," he said. "Just a studio. I just moved in. Most of my stuff is in storage until I get the apartment decorated and buy new blinds for the windows. The kitchen is pretty new and is currently the best room in the house, so at least I can feed myself, and I have somewhere to store food and utensils." Coffee was brought in, and they sat and drank and talked for a good half-hour. He told her that he worked for a local real estate agency, an estimator, and had moved to the area to be closer to the office. He was just about to start a 2-week vacation, so he had time to clean up and decorate the apartment. Then he could deliver the rest of his belongings and get settled in. At the moment, he had a bed, a dresser, a clothes rack, a dining table and 2 chairs, a TV, a sofa, and a coffee table. He asked her if she worked locally and what she did for a living. She replied that she was a freelance interior designer and worked on high-end homes. "I can see by your wedding ring that you are married," he said. "Do you have children?" "No, no children. We are always too busy to think about children, and my husband works a lot on business trips. He's been in South Africa for the last 2 months." "Oh, yes. Do you have many friends for company?" "Only 1 or 2, she replied. "We haven't lived in this part of town that long, and we used to live on the other side of the county before we moved here to be closer to my husband's head office. Not that he travels there much. Like I said, he's out of the country quite often, and when you're alone most of the time, it's hard to get involved in the social life of the neighborhood." "What about you?" she asked. "I guess you don't have a wife, or she'd probably insist on a fuller apartment before moving in. Do you have a girlfriend?" "No, no girlfriend," he replied. "I had a girlfriend, but we broke up a while ago, which is partly why I decided to move." "That's too bad," Lisa said. "Were you two together for a long time, or am I being too nosy?" "No, it's okay," he said. "We were together for a couple years, but I found out she was cheating on me with a guy I thought was my best friend." "Oh, God, that's not good," said Lisa. "Oh, it's okay," said David. "I'm over it already." She asked him what he was going to do with his new apartment, and by the time he told her his ideas, she was very interested. "The problem is," he said, "I'm not very good at color schemes, and just when I think I've got everything figured out, I start to doubt that everything will go together correctly." Lisa's curiosity piqued, and she told David that she would be interested in seeing his apartment and what he planned to do in it. Time was running out, and it was getting close to lunchtime. He asked if she had plans for lunch, and she said she didn't. Then he asked if she would like to go to the pub for lunch with him, and perhaps, while they ate, give him some ideas for the apartment. Lisa replied that she would love to, but first she needed to take the shopping home. She told him where she lived, exchanged phone numbers, and he said he would pick her up when she took the shopping home if she called him when she was ready to go. She hurried home and quickly put her shopping away, then quickly ran upstairs to change into nicer clothes and get cleaned up for her lunch date. She was excited. She liked David and was looking forward to spending more time with him. Dropping her jeans and sweatshirt, she took a 3-minute shower, not wiping her hair so she wouldn't waste time drying it. She put on clean underwear and a dark green tight-knit dress that fit her 36-24-35 figure. The dark green color matched her shoulder-length blonde hair perfectly. She matched the dress with black shoes with 3-inch heels and a single row of pearls that rested on her chest in the deep neckline of the dress. Fresh makeup and her favorite perfume, Je Reviens by Worth, made her feel better than she had in weeks. She called David and he said he would be there in 10 minutes. She waited by the window for his arrival and was startled when a large Mercedes SUV pulled up to the house. She immediately went out to the car before he could approach the house, and he went to the front passenger door and opened it for her. He noticed her change of clothes and thought she was very attractive, with a good figure and great legs showing under the short skirt. She had also changed from flat shoes to 3-inch heels, emphasizing her feet and ankles. "You look absolutely gorgeous," he told her. She blushed and thanked him for the compliment. He took her to an old pub with a nice restaurant. He'd been there before, and while he waited for her call, he booked a quiet table where they could talk in peace. Over lunch, they discussed color schemes and furnishings, and they had a great time together. He was very attentive, and she really enjoyed his company and his attention. She told him about her husband, how he was working in collaboration with a South African government department on projects to bring clean tap water to rural communities. She also told him how annoyed she was that she had only found out that morning that his traveling companion and assistant engineer was a woman who she was sure was stalking him. After a very pleasant lunch, he drove her home. She invited him into the house to show him her color schemes and ways of furnishing. She showed him the living room, dining room, and conservatory, and then took him upstairs to show him the bedrooms. He was impressed with the color schemes, decorative techniques, furniture, and drapes. The house had 2 bathrooms, 2 guest bedrooms, and a master bedroom with ensuite bathroom. All the bedrooms were furnished very comfortably and tastefully. He told her that her house was beautiful, and it clearly showed her womanhood. He lamented that his own place would not be as beautiful as hers because he is an independent man and does not have the same design flair as her and her husband. She thanked him for the compliments but said that her husband had nothing to do with it. He wasn't the least bit interested in their home and spent as much time away from it as possible. Lisa apologized for letting her feelings for her husband get out. David said that if it was his house and she was his wife, he would want to spend as much time there as possible. She silently wished that was the case, that he was there with her, but said nothing. Then she said, "Look, why don't I come over later and suggest some ideas to make you comfortable?" David said he'd be glad if she agreed. "I have an appointment this afternoon," he said, "but could you come over tonight?" "Of course I can," she said, "only I'll be here alone. I'd be glad to help you if I can." "Can you come over at, say, 6:30 p.m.?" David asked. "I'll cook dinner for us. I promise not to poison you. Do you have any wine preferences?" "Yes," Lisa replied. "I can come over any time you want, and I like a chilled Prosecco. Are you sure dinner won't be too complicated?" "Not at all," he said. "I'd be happy to cook for you, and it would be the least I could do in exchange for expert assistance and a beautiful woman as company." She blushed. He hoped he hadn't said too much. She led him down the stairs, and he noticed the way her hair gently rippled as she walked. He also noticed her delightful floral perfume. He found her utterly charming. As he left, he told her he looked forward to seeing her later and made sure she could find her way to his apartment. When she opened the door to let him out, he turned to shake her hand, but she leaned over and kissed him. The kiss seemed to last a long time, but it was really only a few seconds. "Thank you for being Sir Galahad this morning and for the lovely lunch. I'll see you later," she said. She spent the afternoon in a sort of daze. She was very much enjoying David's company. Not only did he look good, but he was in good shape. Besides, he was very attentive and polite, and he made her feel good. She asked herself, should she start a relationship with him? Then she thought about her husband in South Africa with Sharon Wells and decided that what was good for the goose was good for the gander, or in this case, what was good for the goose was definitely good for the gander. When it was time to get ready for the evening, she thought about what she should wear. She settled on stretchy jeans, a translucent white blouse, and white flat-soled shoes. Of the underwear, the only sensible option was a white lace bra and panties. A short camel-colored jacket completed the outfit in case it got chilly. She brushed her blonde hair until it was shiny and let it loose around her shoulders. She arrived at David's apartment at 6:40 p.m. "Never arrive early or on time," was her mantra. "It looks like you're too eager, always leaving them a little unsure." "But of course," she said to herself with a smile, "this isn't that kind of date at all, is it?" He met her at the already open door of his apartment. "I saw you pull into the parking lot," he said. "I'm so glad you came." "How could I not come? I've never had a handsome man cook dinner for me before," she replied flirtatiously, but inwardly wondered what she was doing, flirting heavily with a near stranger. "And yet," she thought, "I feel like we've known each other for a long time, being on the same page." He gave her a brief tour of his sparsely furnished and shabby house. She told him that she could see how desperately it needed cleaning and proper layout. In its current state, it was a bit depressing. Back in the living dining room, he set the table for dinner, a clean white tablecloth, white napkins, and gleaming silver cutlery. On the table was a small vase with a bouquet of fragrant flowers, 2 crystal water glasses, and a decanter of water. There were no wine glasses, she noticed. As if reading her mind, he said, "I put the glasses in the refrigerator along with the wine. It always seems silly to chill wine and then pour it into warm glasses. What a thoughtful man, she thought. Is he really trying to impress me? Well, if so, he's succeeded. I hope you like seafood, he said. We'll have fried tiger shrimp with shell pasta, roasted tomato halves, and seafood sauce. For a sweet treat, I thought it would be a nice ice cream. I hope I didn't include anything you don't like. Everything sounds fine, she said. I eat almost anything. I'm not a picky eater. Well, you didn't get that great figure from eating too many of the wrong things, he said. Thank you, kind sir, she said, acknowledging the compliment. But I'm spending some time at the gym burning off the excess indulgences. Dinner was perfect. The wine was just right, and by the time the ice cream was eaten, they had already started on the second bottle. When dinner was finished and the dishes were carried into the kitchen, they moved to the couch and Lisa opened her sketch pad. She had already sketched out a few ideas after dinner and discussed them with David. Now that she had seen the apartment, she added a few sketches and discussed color schemes, lighting effects, and soft furnishings with him. He was delighted with her ideas. As they sat together and discussed her ideas, she felt a pleasant thrill from the wine and the closeness of this energetic young man. When she showed him her sketches and their hands touched, she felt the thrill of being alone with him in his apartment. They sat close together, heads bowed over the pages of her sketch pad. He looked at her as she explained one of her ideas. "What do you think?" she asked. He stared into her eyes for a moment, then leaned over and kissed her gently on the lips. She didn't hesitate to respond, opening her lips and letting him do it. They kissed for a long time, their kisses growing longer and longer. Suddenly, she pulled back. "Oh, God," she said, "we mustn't." But he kissed her again, and after a moment's hesitation, she put her hand behind his head and pressed his lips firmly against hers. They held each other tightly, and he continued to kiss her lips, her chin, and her neck. She leaned back on the back of the couch, and he turned his body to face her, continuing the kisses she enjoyed. When he ran his hand over her breasts, she inhaled sharply. He thought she was going to ask him to stop, but she only kissed him harder. Without taking her gaze from his eyes, she said in a gasping, husky voice, "Could you show me your bedroom again, please?" He took her hand and led her to his bedroom. As soon as they entered the room, he enclosed her in his arms and kissed her again, unable to get enough of her warm, soft, cherry-red lips. He led her further into the room until they were next to his bed. She began to undo the buttons on his white shirt, and he continued to kiss her. She noticed a white scar on his right shoulder about 4 inches long. "Where did you get it?" she asked. "I had a bike accident when I was a kid," he replied. "I fell and was impaled by a brake lever." She kissed the scar, put her index finger on it, then ran her finger down his chest and over his flat stomach to the waistband of his jeans. After that, they had sex, and she felt no guilt for her behavior. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.